What is up, YouTube? It's Kingfisher745, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 10 of All Hail the King. For those who are not familiar with this series, this is basically the video companion episode which goes along with a podcast segment. So in order to get the full details, you'll want to tune into that podcast every Tuesday night. You can follow that on Twitch TV/The Helicarrier, and also you can check it out, listen, and download it at thehelicarrier.com. Also, the link to this episode will be in the description below. Make sure you check out the site for tons of MAA information. Now, for this particular team up, I'm using a really resilient team. The original team name came out of this, but it was kind of bland. Since then, I've heard some amazing ideas, and one of them that I really like is Team Aneurysm. It definitely goes along with this team because you have Emma, who causes migraine, and of course you have Volstagg, who has a move called Splitting Headache. So psychic attacks and bleeds, it's just perfect. But like I was saying, this team is really awesome because it is hard to damage, and it's very hard to kill. Also, when you use the tankard on your agent, or on Volstagg, you'll cause the other to drink. This will give Emma Frost an immediate turn, and she can use Psychic Tap. Hopefully you have access to the Maddening ISO 8, and that's going to cause weak mind in addition to mental anguish. This turns this into a massive psychic bomb that is like an aneurysm going off. Unfortunately, mental anguish doesn't count when they hit their own teammate. But trust me, we'll see that damage come into play later. Now that it's Emma's turn, I want to talk about what makes this team so hard to damage. Emma Frost naturally has Diamond Body, so she has a chance to predict the next attack, causing her to take less damage. For those of you who have fought her before in PvP, you know how hard she was to damage just with this alone. The silver lining was, after you hit her and this triggered, she'd go into Organic Recovery, so she would take normal damage after that, at least until the next round. But in Season 2, Chapter 4, Mission 1 to be exact, they added the Eternal Empowered ISO 8 for her. This E-ISO grants Diamonds Are Forever, so Diamond Body no longer triggers Organic Recovery. Then on top of this, Volstagg's level 2 Guard the Rear will add cover to your entire team. This causes them to take 50% damage from all attacks. Also, his Elixir of Recovery will give Cast Iron Stomach to your team, so they'll take reduced damage from damage over time effects. So this is all pretty impressive together, especially if you already have the Asgardian Tankard, which not only gives your tacticians extra turns, it also allows your agent and Volstagg to drink and remove debuffs. Plus, don't forget, Emma can give you Cosmic Power, which also erases your debuffs. So I think you can see why this team is so resilient. By the way, even heavy dot teams such as Pestilence fell to this team. For one, if you happen to see Pestilence, just go ahead and finish him first. A Psychic Tap is going to go a long way with that one. You know Beast is going to attack. He has that quick action, but then he's going to use either his level 1 or his level 9. So right there it's going to be about 80% of his health gone. Plus, if you're using the cube, Disoriented really does a number on him. Beast's own passive ability makes sure he can't get rid of it, and then he only has single target attacks. That's why typically a Famine and Pestilence team just end up tearing each other apart. All you need is one Blackest Void, and you can sit back and watch the carnage. In the next battle, I'm going to be facing teams that you may have questions about. That's of course the infamous Quicksilver and Havoc team. As far as this match, you can see that our health levels are still pretty ridiculous. Famine is going to chip away at our health slightly, but she won't be hurting Emma Frost or Volstagg. Another thing I was saying in the podcast segment was you could try using the Emerald Prism on your agent. This could be especially beneficial if you are facing a lot of Quicksilver teams, and you could quickly build up those defensive stacks. Another weapon that I do try out in the next battle is the Fist of the Colossus. This weapon grants heavy metal, so you're immune to bleeding, burning, and chilled, and you have very high crit resistance. Truthfully, you don't really need to experiment with these defensive items, but I do have to say your agent is the weakest of the group. And by that I mean as far as his damage threshold. Now as we're coming to the end of this one, you see that Splitting Headache take out their agent. Or well, it at least helps lead to his death by dots. Next, the Asgardian Tankard is off cooldown, as well as the Neurotrope. Besides the cube, I'm also using the Orfrost Mace, and I'll get more into detail on that in the next battle. By using the Asgardian Tankard and gaining our Elixir of Recovery, we heal and give everyone their class benefits. This means Emma Frost is going to get an immediate turn, and of course Volstagg will drink as well. With Emma Frost's turn, we're going to use Psychic Tap and place Mental Anguish on Rogue. Once she attacks on her turn, this will definitely finish her off, if she makes it that far. But since my agent is also using a Tactician uniform, I'm going to get his extra turn as well and use the Atom Smasher. So that's going to be the end of our first battle, and you see Emma and Volstagg are pretty much unscathed. Now it's time for what many would consider a true test of this team. First, of course, Quicksilver is going to be the first to attack. So let's see if they get an uncanny coordination. He begins with the tag team, and then Havoc does get uncanny coordination first turn. So that's about as well as they could hope for, and he does use channel energy right away. Now the thing is, my agent's using the Orfrost Mace, so that means no matter how much damage Havoc does, he stays alive. That's the first step. Secondly, we're using a Tactician uniform, so we get an immediate turn. We also grant sacrificial strength to our entire team. Next, my agent can use the Elixir of Recovery to regain health, and once again this triggers everyone else's class benefits, and also causes Volstagg to drink. So our team also gains Cast Iron Stomach. Now with Emma's extra turn, you do have a choice to make. You can use Mental Trauma, but in this case I think I'm going to go ahead and use Psychic Tap on Quicksilver. Since we interrupted his 2 turns, we know he's going to attack right away. This will cause Mental Anguish to trigger, and he will also have Weak Mind. Quicksilver pretty much has no way to avoid Mental Anguish, other than to recharge. The even better news is we know the AI is not going to do that. So here comes the Blinding Punches, and it is on Emma Frost. It does more damage than we would have liked, but he does take a ton of damage, 39,000. Weak Mind turns Psychic Tap into almost a one-hit kill. And now with my agent's normal turn, we can either use Blackest Void and disorient the whole team, or we can try to finish Quicksilver. I'm going to opt for that disoriented, and hopefully they hit their own teammates. Okay, the enemy agent is going to do it right back to us. That's slightly annoying, but it could be worse. With Emma Frost, we're going to use an AoE attack, so I'll use Unlock Potential to remove it from Volstagg. So there goes his disoriented. Now on Emma's Mental Trauma, I also added the Maddening AISO, so it damages everyone and also causes Weak Mind. Now since Blackest Void has been spent, I'll go ahead and use Guard the Rear. This gives us covered and causes only 50% of damage to be taken. Right away you will notice a difference. Then just to be safe, I'm going to use the Light Fantastic, and then we don't have to worry about Havoc. The enemy agent is going to use the Neurotrope, and then probably the Light Fantastic himself. One thing we know is he's not too much of an offensive threat. I'm really not worried about dots with this team, and that's pretty much all he has. At least next turn it's most likely going to be an Improbability Field, and as long as we remove most of the debuffs, we don't have to worry about Atom Smasher that much. Oh, and by the way, this is another thing I love about Emma. She's going to get 2 turns, and that Psychic Tap is perfect for removing Mirror Reality. It does little initial damage, meaning not that much of a heal, but then it's going to do major damage when they attack. Case in point, Havoc's about to take over 40,000 damage. Just like that, most of his health bar has disappeared. My agent is just going to use the Fist of the Colossus on Havoc, so we will finish him off. And then on Volstagg's turn I'll use a Splitting Headache, and this does have a bleed and a hemorrhaging attack. Volstagg happens to dodge the preemptive attack, but it wouldn't have done any damage anyway. Just watch this combat awareness counterattack. The numbers are going to be minuscule at best. Even without Mirror Reality, that would have done less than 4,000 total damage. Volstagg is a tank, there's really nothing else to say about that. With my agent, I will use the Improbability Field, and then their agent's going to be next to act. First he has to take quite a bit of dot damage, then I really assumed he was going to use the cube here. Instead he does end up surprising me, and he uses a Nanite Nailgun attack. This does a little bit of damage, but it's going to trigger mental anguish. And that's exactly how this one's going to end. A 42,000 damage mental anguish tick. Now I do have further footage of this team, including a pretty epic battle. So I will try to release this later in the week, so please stay tuned for that. Lastly, I want to thank you all for watching, and ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, good luck, and take care.